This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance.
Hunker down and just get to work. You just got to overcome it, man. Like, if it means not sleeping for a while, if it means saying, hey, girl, I'm dating, sorry, like, I have to overcome these obstacles. Like, my business is most important to me. Those are things that you just have to do.
What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now.
Welcome back. We have a guest with us. His name is Basseri of Rywire. Rywire is a wiring harness and loom manufacturer. They make harnesses for, I think, primarily Hondas, but they do a little bit of everything. And he's even got some Lamborghinis that he may talk about a little bit. But Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Ryan, let's kind of like get right into this. So why don't you tell us about yourself? Give us a background of like who you are, like how did you get involved in cars? Just kind of go back to when you were a kid and kind of take us up to, where you started Rywire.
Well, I actually grew up in Monterey, and, Pebble Beach was an amazing place to live. It's beautiful, and it also hosts the, huge car week. So I was able to be around, for 1 week out of the year. A lot of amazing cars, high-end cars. It was like the whole place was just shut down. And it was just all about, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and really old, amazing vehicles.
And that's the Pebble Beach Concours event, right? Like that's kind of like the Concours event for pretty show cars that are worth like obscene amounts of money, right? That's kind of what that is.
Exactly. So as a small kid, I was really around that kind of stuff, and it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different kinds of cars. And, I was actually more into like golfing and skateboarding because, we had Pebble Beach golf links, skateboarding, rollerblading, I was doing like all those kind of more like BMX and extreme stuff. And I kind of stepped back from cars, during high school. And my uncle actually had a Honda CRX. And, he was big into it. He was doing all these like modifications to it and stuff. And, he's kind of an older guy. And it was interesting to see that, this guy has this tuner car. So he actually brought me to a CRX meet called CR Expo. And that was in, I believe, 99 at Laguna Seca. Really after that, it just kind of took off for me. I started getting into CRXs, eventually got my own CRX, and, I was just doing engine swaps and just kind of tweaking the car and doing small stuff to it. And my uncle, eventually, he kind of wrecked his car and kind of started getting out of it a little bit, ended up selling it. It wasn't like a bad crash or anything, but he just kind of ended up getting rid of it. And
it kind of really hurts, the passion you have for a car when you wreck it, right?
Right. I mean, even if it's just something small, it's just like, oh, I'm kind of over this car, I don't want it anymore. So he decided to just get rid of it, and I just kind of kept going full steam. And eventually I moved to San Jose to go to San Jose State for college. And my neighbor had like 3 CRXs, and, I still had my CRX. I had a GSR engine swapped in, and, all the bolt-ons and everything was real clean. And the neighbor had like 3 of them. And so like we would hang out and we'd talk CRXs, and, I didn't really have too much car guys around my area. Even though it's San Jose, there's a lot of car guys, but I just didn't really know them. So I started like branching out a little bit more and starting to, starting to go to the street races a little bit, starting to go to like the meetup spots, and just started getting more familiar with cars again and like the people around it. And I went to a couple little CRX meets that were held up in San Jose area. And then I started kind of helping with it. And we were, at that point I was kind of helping actually organize and get the meets together. So, this is still like early 2000s. And, I started a small wiring business just out of my small apartment that me and my friend were renting in San Jose while I was still going to school. I was just making like small wiring looms, sub harnesses, The old CRXs were dual point. They have 2 fuel injectors, and you have to convert them to 4. And it was kind of like a 2-3 hour job, but I had it down to like almost an hour, and I was doing like 2 a day. So that was pretty much paying my bills. And just a little mail order thing. I'd get a harness, tear it down, remake it, send it out. And I think I got to probably about 2,000 of those looms just while I was in college.
That's quite a few looms for. I mean, there is a bunch of CRXs though, so it helps to have a car that has a decent sized market to sell to, right?
Right, and a lot of them were dual point. The SI is what everybody wanted, but I mean, even the SI, like a lot of guys were converting to OBD1, so sometimes I would just make like a little OBD1 deal where they could either plug it in or kind of integrate it into their factory wire loom. And that was paying my bills for a good while. As college started to be less important for me and wiring started to be more important, I actually just decided that I was going to kind of drop out of college.
What were you going to school for?
Well, I was going to school for... I didn't even know what I was going to school for, man. I was going to school for business, like that was the main focus.
Mm-hmm.
But I had changed my major and I ended up doing marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So business marketing was pretty much, my San Jose State, what I was shooting for my major. And I just started taking less and less classes. The business started getting just a little bit bigger and there was just less time for schoolwork. So I ended up just saying, you know what, I'm just going to cut ties with this and I'm just going to at least just move into a house, with a garage in the back. San Jose homes were always like big old garage in the back, you drive past down a long driveway.
Mm-hmm.
It was real common. So it actually allowed me to have, a customer's car if I needed to wire it, or just a great place to just store my materials and work on wire looms.
So really, you trained yourself by. It sounds like you did your own engine swap on your CRX. That's really where your experience and training came from, was doing it yourself, right? You didn't go to tech school or anything.
Yeah, so I took like a couple automotive courses here and there, like at a junior college when I was in Monterey still. But yeah, I really went about this whole thing completely backwards. So it's really weird,
Most of us did. So
yeah, I am definitely self-taught. A lot of guys went to school for electrical backgrounds, electrical engineering, and I didn't. I just kind of, it's the craziest thing that I could tell you is that when I was doing these wiring harnesses, I knew what I was doing. Okay, if you look back, I don't even know if I really had a concept of how like a Honda main relay worked. You know what I'm saying? Like I did, but I didn't. I just knew like the other half of it. So I really had to work backwards. And I go, okay, well, I know how to make these. So why does this work? How am I deriving power to the fuel injectors? How am I getting ground here? So I really like worked completely backwards, started dissecting wiring looms and started to really understand what was going on. And then once you can figure out the ground, underlying how actually everything is working and how power is delivered, I started, researching resistance and continuity and all these different terms. And I went, okay, wow, well, it clicks now and I have the big picture of how to really do this.
So applied sciences for electrical engineering, right?
Right. And obviously this is early on, but at the same time, it's like, I was functioning for 2 years without even knowing what I was really doing. And then it was like, well, wait a minute, let me just spend a year and like teach myself all this stuff. And that really, like I said, that opened up my mind. It made me truly understand. And then it really made the business a business at that point. Okay,
so these wiring harnesses that you were making out of your essentially apartment or dorm room at school, those you learned how to make those on your own as well. You didn't learn how to do the harnesses in tech school. It's just something you needed for your car, right?
Right. I was like, well, I had SIs, I had DPFI, DXs, I had HFs, all the different trims of all the Hondas. And, at one point or another, and I kind of just taught myself, well, if I put this engine in here, I'm going to have to convert it to OBD1 or a different computer or a different injection system or a different manifold, you name it, I was doing it. So it was all just, one step after another, just figure it all out. And that's really how it just kind of ballooned.
Okay, so were you working a full-time job at all, or did you just start doing this straight when you were in college and that was it?
Well, in Monterey, I had a full-time job. I was working at a golf course, Poppy Hills. And then, after that, when I actually went out to college, I just started doing the little wiring looms.
Okay.
And those wiring looms, like I said, you do 2 a day. You can charge 100, 200, whatever each, and it was enough money to pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
So
very cool. So,
yeah.
It works out well because you can do it whenever you want because it's your own thing, right? You don't have to do any one day, and you could do 4 the next day if you needed to.
Exactly. Yeah. If I had like a test or something I had to study for it, I would do that. I would study, get down to business on that, and maybe even spend an entire weekend making like 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like my customers didn't mind if it took a week to make. You know what I mean?
And a week is a pretty good turnaround for a wiring harness.
I think it is, especially if you're mailing it in.
Right. Do you think of yourself as an entrepreneur, or is this starting this business kind of like it was working out and you just kind of went with it?
Yeah, I definitely consider myself an entrepreneur. So, early on when I was a kid, funny enough, like I was actually selling pencils. So there was this pencil dispenser when I was a little kid in like elementary school, and everybody would put quarters, 75 cents. I don't remember how much it cost, but they'd get either like a bunny pencil, for like maybe the girls or I don't know. And then they'd get like a football pencil. So it was a complete toss up. You put your money in the thing and, whatever pencil you get. And it was funny. I was like, well, I could go to, the local market store and they have the whole NFL, all of them.
Uh-huh.
And I would go, hey, guys, you want these pencils? I'll sell them to you for $1 each. And they're just like, oh, hell yeah, man. Like, all these kids are buying pencils off of me. And I'm like, okay, well, I sold out of those. Let me go the next day, use some of my money and buy another pack of pencils. And I mean, it's kind of obvious that, I'm getting them from somewhere, but these kids didn't care. I had guys like give me $10 for the 49ers one because I'm, in the Bay Area. And I'm like, that's so weird. Like they're only they're only $3 for 24, like, so anyways, and then after that I started when I was like into skateboarding and stuff. Before there was those little finger decks, we actually used to take blinds and go to the California Cheapskate CCS catalog, and I would cut out the bottom of the skateboard and I'd put it on a blind, and I'd go to the skate shop and get scraps, the grip tape, and I put it on the top, and we just make little finger skateboards, and I'd sell them for, $10-15 each, because all the kids were, like in class.
In school
they
doing it. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
uh-huh.
it was like Pogs or something you play at school, or you to pass the time. So did that for a while, and then in high school we had to do, it was called the Young Entrepreneur, whatever, and if you normally have to like write a paper about something like why you're going to go to college, or I don't remember what the whole deal was, but the option was you could be a young entrepreneur and go for like this award or whatever at the best business startup. So me and my buddy made something called Gauge Tech, and what we did was, we probably only sold like 30-40 of these things, but we took laminated, we went to the junkyard, basically jacked some faces out of some gauge clusters, and for the cars that we liked, and then we scanned them into the computer, and then we made them like white, or we put like a graphic, it's probably all completely counterfeit, stolen, like Mugen logos and who knows what. We'd put them on the face of the gauge, and then we'd change the RPM red line, and we'd do any like custom stuff. And it was just before the Indiglos came out, and we would make those and just sell them on eBay. And that was super cool because, it's like we're starting this real business, and, it was actually working. So,
and you did that for a class, or for this like, I guess, contest or whatever you wanted to call it.
Exactly. And we actually ended up getting second place in this contest. And that was like, I don't know if it was like California, I don't know if it was like, a state deal, or if it was, I don't even remember, county, who knows. But I just remember we got second place, and we easily got an A+ on that. And I think that the girl that won the whole thing, I believe I like did some research, and I found out that it was really like her mother's business, and she just like copied the whole business plan. So I was kind of like bummed on that. And I think that the judges couldn't really understand like why you'd need to change the face of your gauge cluster. So yeah, we had to like, there was just a lot of convincing and, you know, the hard fact showing like we actually had these like little pseudo invoices for, you know, sales on eBay and
Which were
you know,
legit.
yeah, we were legit. Like this was like where I wanted to like, I was going to like do this for my whole life, you know, at that point. Like I was like, this is it, man. This is going to be where I stand. And then those damn Indiglo gauges came out and just killed it, man. So,
Okay.
yeah, I definitely say that you know, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time.
Cool. So Rywire really started when you were in college. So kind of take us to building that up to kind of where it is today.
Okay, so from college, you know, like I said, I moved into a house in San Jose. Started just doing stuff out of my house.
What time frame was this around?
Oh man, let's see. This was probably like early 2000s. I don't know. Let's see, graduate. Maybe like 03 or 02, 03, something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I was just kind of doing that, and then I moved out with some other friends, moved into a little bit bigger house, you know, and that has like a 3-car garage in the front, but with a bunch of, you know, room in the back where we could, you know, tinker with cars. So a bunch of car guys all living in the house. And that's when the business actually started like really getting off the ground. And the guys that were living with me were actually helping me. So, you know, tearing down harnesses, you know, trying to source connectors, junkyard diving, whatever. And those guys were actually working for me. It was kind of weird, but they were really good friends. So it was like, it really, really worked out. You know, they had their tuner cars. My buddy had like H22 Civic that, you know, it was all motor, but, you know, he was running like I think it was in the 10s. It was fast. And then my other buddy had like, you know, a super modified street car and then another race car he was building. So we were just like crazy into cars, just doing it all the time, building wiring harnesses, our kitchen, our dining room, it was like a 5-bedroom house and like storage and just everybody's working downstairs. And we just went upstairs to our bedrooms to sleep. And it was crazy, man. I was literally like, you know, eating, sleeping, breathing cars and wiring, and it was wild. So, you know, that couldn't last forever, and I just thought, man, I really need a shop. So one of my buddies, he ended up, you know, breaking up with his girlfriend, and then this happened, and then another guy got married. So it was just everybody was kind of breaking up. So I thought, you know, I have family in Southern California. I have friends in Southern California. My buddy David at the time in Southern California was like interested in helping me, you know, start up a shop down here. Or in Southern California. So I said, you know what, this is going to be the best time for me to probably move and just make this leap. So, got with my family down here and, you know, could they kind of help me like figure it out and have a place as like fallback to, you know, if I really need a place to stay, I could stay at my friend David's or my family's. So, I didn't know, man. I just thought, you know, I'm going to come down to Southern California and rent a shop and get a U-Haul truck and just try to make this work. And my business partner, Peter, was still living in Northern California. And he, you know, we were working together and he was up there, but it just kind of worked. So I started up the shop down here and literally like just had all my stuff, all my, you know, my bed, everything was just in the shop. So
awesome. And so your business partner, Peter, he is a 50-50 partner with you?
Yeah, he's a 50-50 partner.
Okay.
I guess you could say that I'm more like the face of the company, and you know, I had the idea, and you know, he was there with me, so he, you know, hey man, share the ups and downs, and so that's what Peter's been with me the whole time. So we're still together.
Is he still in Northern California? Did he move down by you?
Actually, funny enough, he moved down to Southern California, moved back to Northern California, and then now he's back in Southern California.
Okay, so he's gone back and forth a couple times, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, the stuff that he does for the business isn't the actual like physical labor, so he doesn't necessarily have to be here every day. But he'll come in once a week or so, and you know, we'll catch up on everything. But he basically just remotely works from home.
Okay. And you kind of mentioned before this that he does a lot of like the marketing and the mechanics of the business, not necessarily the production, right?
Yeah, a lot of the background stuff, you know, the website development and ordering and any marketing stuff. Like I do a lot of like the social media stuff, but he'll like set it all up for me. Like, okay, hey, you know, I got you. This is your Twitter. This is your, you know, whatever. Just start posting. This is, you know, if I Sometimes, man, electronics just bother the hell out of me. Even today, when we're trying to Skype, I was like, it's just killing me. So, I go, hey, Peter, fix this for me. I don't know what the hell's going on. I need you to just do this for me. All right, man, you're all set. Now, go start posting again. All right, cool.
You guys complement each other very well.
Yeah, because he doesn't do the stuff I do, and I don't do the stuff he does. So we kind of need each other.
Perfect. Has location played a role in your success?
Yes, I definitely think that location, man. That's what they say. So Southern California is, where we are right now, and this is really where the business just took a huge, leap. And you got guys down here, like there was guys that I just aspired to be like, and guys that I aspired to work with, and mostly all of them were in Southern California. So being here has been great. Almost every connection that I wanted and needed for my business and just everything, it all just falls into place really when you're in the spot that you want to be.
It makes it easier to be in a big populous area, so you do have all those resources near you, right?
Oh yeah, like we work a lot with AEM, Motec, AIM, for the digital dashes and stuff. And I mean, we got AIM, like it's like an hour, but it's close enough.
Still close, yeah.
We have AEM, it's like 30 minutes away, and then Motec West is like 3 minutes from my house. So it's pretty set up, man.
Cool. So have you ever doubted yourself and wondered, like, if this doesn't work, what am I going to do? And how do you overcome that feeling and move forward?
Well, yeah, I've definitely doubted myself. I think that you just have to, realize that that's totally normal, and everyone is going to run across something like that in their lifetime. And I mean, when you really got to just hunker down and just get to work, you just got to overcome it, man. Like if it means not sleeping for a while, if it means not saying, hey, girl I'm dating, sorry, like I have to overcome these obstacles, like my business is most important to me. Those are things that you just have to do. So when you really got to do work, you got to do work, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So just struggle past it, move through it, and there's going to be something better on the other side of the horizon. So you always got to remember that.
Okay. Tell us the worst experience you've had in business.
Okay, well, I guess I'd probably say that there's two that have been the worst. The first is I'll just start with the first in succession here. I was actually at one of my houses that we were, all the guys are working at, I'm living with all my friends, and it was in San Jose. I look out the window one morning. I'm actually like getting boxes ready. I'm bringing them downstairs, putting them by the door, waiting for the mailman, because the mailman would come at like 11 o'clock in the morning or something like that. But I was like, the week's orders, basically just trying to get everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And I look outside, and this Lexus IS pulls into my driveway. I'm like, okay, that's really weird. I look out the window, and then a girl gets out. I'm like, oh, it's a girl. I don't know. She's probably like trying to sell, who knows, give me a flyer or something. So I walk downstairs, and I look, and I open the door, and she's like running to the car, and I'm like, look to the side, and I'm like, holy shit, there's like all the boxes that I've, spent the last week packing are gone. So I actually like run upstairs, and my buddy Woody, he was like kind of half asleep. I'm like, Woody, get up. He's like, what? I was like, dude, somebody's like jacked all my boxes in front of the house. He's like, what? And he's like not even wearing a shirt. He just runs out. I'm like, get in the truck. I had my dad's truck at the time. Jump in this truck. It's like beat, like old Toyota pickup with like crashed on the side. And I'm like, let's find these. I think they're girls and like a Lexus. And it was literally like a high speed chase. I'm like not thinking clear. Like I so shouldn't have done this. I was like driving over medians, and like I was freaked out, man. Like I was like, hell no, this is like a lot of money worth of stuff that somebody's just going to throw away,
Uh-huh.
and they're not, it's not jewelry. It's not stuff that these girls are going to sell. So basically I got straight jacked, and I'm like driving all around, merging onto the highway. I see him. I flip around in the median. I jump over a median with a truck. It's like a high-speed chase on a busy highway. I'm like flying around this on-ramp doing like as fast as this truck could go. and it's just like skirting the tires, and I'm just chasing these girls onto the highway. You know, they're like signaling left and darting right, and like we're just literally like it's a movie, man. So we get to the shoulder, and they're just blazing down the shoulder like 100 mile an hour, and I was just following them. It was stop traffic, and we were doing 100 in the side of the highway, and obviously that's not a good idea, but they like dart back into traffic and they exit, and I just barely like couldn't exit. And I literally saw like a couple boxes just like fly out of the truck, like they're throwing them. They were like freaked out, probably, right? So yeah, that was a huge setback. Funny enough, some of the boxes actually showed up at the, you know, I'm sure the ones that got thrown out of the car, they're already labeled, ready to go. Like maybe just some good Samaritans threw them in the mailbox, and you know they got shipped, but. Other stuff I lost, and I actually, like, some of them were, like, I remember a couple, they were, like, some, like, unique Honda Accord to H22, like, conversions or something like that, and I had to go to the junkyard and try to find the right year Accord, and, like, some of the guys, I was like, listen, I'm going to replace your harness, but you got to give me a couple weeks to find the right year, because they vary, like, every year is, like, basically different. So, like, that was a huge setback, like, that. It's like a week's worth of hard work, and then all of a sudden you're asked out of it, you know?
So it may not have been the cost of the materials. It's your time that was,
it was
the
my
expense,
time,
right?
Yeah, I mean the material. I mean, you know, it's probably only like a few $100s worth of actual material, but I mean when you've been spending literally a week building all that stuff, and then all of a sudden it's gone, it's bad, man. So that was a huge setback. That was no fun at all for me. Another one that I could think of was when I moved to Southern California. You know, we're starting the new shop, you know, new location. I didn't actually have anyone yet that could build harnesses with me side by side. So, you know, orders were coming in, and it was scary. Like we had 80 orders in like a week. And I'm like, we're not even set up with a shop yet. Like this is a bad transition, you know? So my guy David, that was, you know, he was helping me set up everything. He's like, all right, well, let's just start building these, and just started and just press through. And luckily enough, I was able to. Well, I called everyone and I said, listen, you know, I'm like 80 orders deep. This is like 2 months worth of work. If you can't wait, let me just refund you. And thank goodness it wasn't like a financial burden where I was like, oh, I need these orders to survive. It was more like, you know, these orders are icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could easily just refund most of these and be totally fine. But, you know, most of the people were like, all right, 2 months. Okay, fine. I'll wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because most of them are going to get the harness, and it's going to take them 2 months to put the car back together anyway.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, hey, what stage are you in with your build? Like, you know, we're really behind. Is this going to be okay with you? And, you know, most people were like, ah, yeah, cool, no problem, you know. But some people were like, I need it this week or else I can't tune. And, all right, well, here's your money back. Like, good luck finding someone else to do it. I don't know what to say, you know. And then sometimes they'd order again in a month and a half from then, you know. So
when they realized they couldn't find anybody else to do it.
Right. They were like, oh, man, this is actually not as easy as I thought. And anyway, so that was bad, and you know we really worked ourselves out of it, and I kind of thought like this is a make or break, like for reputation, everything, you know. It's like you have 80 harnesses deep, and you're just like, oh man, like I don't have enough staff. So you know, we ended up finding a really amazing company that was able to, you know, take my design and take everything and just get me 3/4 of the way done in the process. So we found them, and they started right away. They needed the work, and they just started building these cookie cutter, you know, with I spent like a week and taught them and everything they needed to know, and they were just like cranking them out. And then I was just finalizing. So we got out of that jam, you know, maybe it was 3 or 4 months before we were actually like back in business the way I wanted to be. But that was a huge setback, and it was really scary. And, you know, I really encourage anyone out there that's, you know, starting their own business, move very, very slow. You know, I've been in business for a lot of years, doing these harnesses, you know, probably Well, 2005 is my fictitious business name, and we actually like have legit paying taxes, all that. But I was doing it here and there before that, just for friends and internet, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I was doing it, and just move slow because like you start doing this like overnight sensation stuff, and you're just gonna turn into me with 80 harnesses deep. And I mean, 80 harnesses is nothing for now. It's like that's nothing, but where I was at that particular time. I moved to SoCal, name got bigger, cars on the cover of a magazine. Everybody knew my name, so everybody's ordering. And you got to be really careful. Like, to be honest, I was calling those guys saying, "Hey, I'll give you your money back right now. Like, I can't, I don't think I could do it,
Hmm.
And don't be scared to do that. Like, everybody's like, oh, I need the money, and look at all, like, I made these thousands of dollars, like, in a day or whatever. And that's great. But if you don't have the manpower to do it and you don't have the resources available, you need to really watch yourself. I think that it's more important that you build a name and grow slow rather than blow up overnight and think that, you're never like that money's going to go away, because it's not.
Yeah, and especially on a harness where it actually takes labor and time to do it. You may have gotten the money up front, but you haven't actually earned the money yet. So there's a big difference between having it and earning it, right?
Right. Exactly. I mean, like, I'm slowly working myself up, like my materials on board, I have tens of thousands of connectors, and I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars in like overhead of plastic plugs and stuff. And, it's been a long road, and I didn't get like here's 200 grand, go play with it and start a business. It wasn't like that,
Right.
I got a small little loan from my dad for about $30,000 that I was able to borrow against his house early on. And, that really helped like kind of kickstart the business and order the connectors and stuff that we needed to actually, start building harnesses in bulk. And that was a blessing. But I mean, that's only 30 grand,
Mhm.
and there's guys out there that start businesses with way more or way less. But just if I didn't have that 30 grand, it would have just been an extra year that I would have had to like, slowly pace myself. And I just encourage anyone to do it that way if you don't have the cash on hand,
What's something you're doing right now that has you fired up then?
As far as that goes, let's see. I mean, we do so many jobs and so many cool custom jobs, but I'd say right now, where we're three-quarters of the way done with, we have it's a BMW E46 M3 using a Motec M150 and a BMW V8, the E92. I don't remember exactly the code on S. I don't remember. That doesn't really even matter. It's the ITB powered V8 BMW swapped in, and we're doing a Motec loom for that. And that one's pretty cool. It has a PDM on board, keypad, C series dash. So all the cool bells and whistles. And then basically simultaneously we're doing another project. What's that one? Let's see. We're doing actually, I don't even know too much about the car. It's kind of a secret deal. I guess it's like a SEMA build. I think it's a Camaro
For this year?
but I'm not even sure. Yeah, for this year.
Okay.
But the car has been racing, and I think it's going to compete in one of those like tuner car challenges actually before SEMA,
Okay.
and then it'll go to SEMA. But yeah, that's also a Motec system, I believe. Yeah, it's a M150 as well. Same basic electronics as the other system that we're doing, but we're only building the engine loom for that one.
Okay.
But that one's super cool. Big LS7, I believe, with the Kinsler ITBs, and just a really neat build. I mean, I'm very desensitized by stuff these days, just because like
You've done really cool stuff, right?
yeah, there's like some really badass shit, like that we've been doing. So it's like, I guess, my buddy from the shop next door, he always comes in and he's just like, oh, like, what are you working on now? Like, oh, it's just another M150 with, all the bells and whistles, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, what kind of car it is? I'm like, I don't even know. It's like maybe some Supra or, it's like, the customers, I almost feel bad. I'm just like, they're trying to tell me what kind of pistons they have, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man. I just need to know like what kind of sensor plug you have for this pressure transducer, or you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but yeah, when the cars are done, and people email me like, oh look, here's how everything turned out. I love, being able to like show that and showcase that on like social media, and be able to tell customers and be able to look back and be like, damn, that was a really, really cool build.
So the orange Integra that you had at SEMA last year, was that your car or a customer's car?
That's actually my car.
Okay, that one's super clean. If anybody hasn't seen it, you have it on your Facebook, and I'm sure there's a webpage as well, huh?
Yeah, it was on a lot of different like magazines. Actually, haven't done the U.S. stuff yet, but like Japan and UK, and like it was on like a bunch of covers of a bunch of different magazines, and Speed Hunters, and a lot of publicity on it. But yeah, that was a really cool build, and I'm pretty proud of that one because I was really able to like challenge myself. And I don't think that there's many customers out there, well, maybe not in the Honda demographic, that would really go as overboard as I did. And that build was really just a challenge for myself. Like I wanted everything to be ready to race and the best of the best, but it's like I don't think anybody's going to really go that far, like the plumbing and the wiring and the electronics. Like I have a lot of time and a lot of money invested in that car, and there's some really, really cool little bits. And kind of the goal of that car was that somebody that has seen it 6 times, they come and look at it again for the 7th, and they go, "Wow, I didn't even notice that." Like.
Yeah, the detail is very, very high on that one.
Yeah, thank you, man. That was a long road, though. I mean, that car started getting built like 5-6 years ago, and then in the last in the last 2 years, like a year before SEMA last year, I really just started cracking down on it and like giving my all. And thankfully, I have another staff member that's really awesome at wiring, and he was able to run most of the custom loom business while I was building the Integra for that like entire year, it felt like.
Awesome. So let's take a second here and pause, and we'll be right back to talk about your business. The goal of Do It For a Living is to give you insight to how others have become successful in this industry. Another thing we created to help with this is our Essentials of Operating a Shop seminar. This new class from EFI University is a one-day management seminar to help aftermarket automotive shops operate their business more efficiently. We cover various topics including employee management, accounting, marketing, purchasing capital equipment, and many more. We are holding our next class in Los Angeles, California on October 15th, followed by Indianapolis, Indiana on December 7th. For more information, go to EFI101.com and check out the Essentials of Operating a Shop page. Be sure to sign up using our code DIFAL for $50 off when you sign up. Ryan, why don't you tell us more about Rywire? So how big is the space you're in right now? Do you rent it? Do you own it? Is it out of a shop still like that you're renting?
Okay, so I'm renting a 2,200 square foot facility in Garden Grove, California. And yeah, I don't own it. Thankfully, I was able to pick up a home for myself that's separate from the
okay, not living in the shop anymore.
Not living in the shop, so that's really cool. But yeah, it's a decently sized facility for what we need. We have like storage and stuff that we have is available as well. So it's like 2,200 square foot floor space, enough to hold some of my toys and customer cars, area to work. And yeah, it's just big enough, I think, for what we need to do.
Okay. How many employees do you have?
Well, I have 2 employees. So it's myself, my business partner, Peter, David, and another Ryan. We just call him Durr because his last name is Durr. So if you get a wiring harness from Rywire, you're getting a wiring harness from Ryan, whether it be me or Ryan Durr, you're getting something from Ryan. So.
Okay. And do you find it difficult to manage these guys or keep them on task, or do you have it pretty well sorted out where it's kind of like assembly line?
Well, a couple years ago, I had another guy, and then even another guy before that, and they were kind of like a floater, like whatever I need you to do, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Guy for like inventory and stuff, and that was where it made it a little difficult to manage. So what I decided to do this year, February is where we hit like it's chaos. And, it's like for 5 months straight, it's just sell as much as you can, get as much stuff out the door as possible. So you really need the help. But I decided this year that, you know what, I'm just going to try to not hire somebody else. And it's actually been better because now the guys really know what they need to do. Okay. And, maybe they have a little bit more to do on their plate, but I think that it takes some of the overlooking, if you will. I try to not get in their business. They've been with me for so long that I don't even hey man, if there's something got shipped wrong, I don't even they're going to deal with it. They don't need me to intervene. They'll handle it. So, it's really easy to run a business when you got your guys that are, if they're here for 8 hours, they got 8 hours worth of stuff to do and they're working their butt off and there's not really much time for, dicking around and stuff. So, I think it's an easier ship to run that way,
So really the employees have made it easy. The people you have working for you have made it easy for you.
Right. And then they're good enough at what they do that they don't need to be overlooked. And also if there's like I said, if one more guy thrown in the mix, it's one more guy to talk to, one more guy to kind of break up the workday. And that's more fun and all. And, even for me too, because I like to just chop it up with people and not work. But, it makes everyone just go, you know what? I got 8 hours worth of work I got to do and just get her done,
Right. Okay. So you don't have to work the crazy hours. You guys just work the open hours and just get it done, work quickly, work efficiently, and you're not having to stay till 2 a.m. every night anymore.
Yeah. Back then when I even at the beginning of me having my shop in Southern California, this was 4 years ago, mm-hmm. I was putting in long hours and working Saturdays and sometimes Sundays, and, doing crazy long work hours. Now I'm doing Monday through Friday and probably about 50 hours a week. So 10-hour days, I'll maybe come in an hour on the early side and leave an hour late. So, I definitely have more work on my plate than maybe some of the other employees, but that's what you get for being a business owner. Right. You don't get to sit back and just, let the invoices roll in and out. It just doesn't really work that way. So, and also, man, you got to hustle for, it's I try to work with people and, if there's big builds or whatever, and the car needs to come into the shop to get wired, or if there's anything I need to do to help, mm-hmm. We're doing a SEMA car with one of my friends right now. And there's no way that I could work an 8-hour day and get all that done too. So I'm doing the, Saturdays right now and long hours into the night just to, get some of these builds done. So it's never easy, but I definitely am working less hours than I used to, 5 years ago.
That's good. Do you have a family at all?
I have a girlfriend and, she lives with me and we're serious and we're, eventually going to have some kind of a family. But at the moment I don't, and I'm actually pretty grateful I don't, because I love to travel. It's a huge passion of mine. And, every now and then, these guys will fly me out to car shows and, hey, Judge, be there, help out. And, I love that because it's I get to market myself. We get to network with customers, and I get to enjoy maybe a day or two, whatever, at a crazy location.
Bring the girlfriend with and make it a vacation, right?
Yeah. And I do that too. We'll do WeekFest Japan, and then it's okay, we'll go to Japan for 3 days. And then it's okay, well, she's Taiwanese. So she's oh, you want to go to Taiwan? Yeah, sure. Go to Taiwan. And then, do that kind of stuff. It's awesome, and it kind of, it's if you do get flown out somewhere, and even if they're oh, we're just going to pay for your flight. Okay, cool. Well, then I'll pay for my girlfriend's, and then we'll pay, after that. And it's a little kickstart of a vacation,
mm-hmm. Yep. I understand. Have you ever written a formal business plan?
I have not ever actually written a formal business plan. When I was doing a lot of work, when I was in Northern California down to Southern California, and I would just sit in the car and just think about stuff, And sometimes I'd write stuff on my cell phone, when I'm driving, and that's not safe at all, but I would do that. Just jot down some things I'm thinking about. Whether it be just a new product or I don't know. I don't really ever project what things are going to be in a year or what things are going to be in 5 or 10. But that's definitely a good thing. I think that anybody that does that is definitely on the right pace, on the right track, but I just don't do that, you know? Like I just kind of think about things that are next in line and what I can do and how I can kind of better my business, but not like anything formal at all.
Okay. And what are your primary sources of revenue then? Is it mostly like manufacturing and selling these looms, or are you doing like installs with them, or kind of give us an idea of your revenue from the business?
So revenue, I would say that the biggest revenue for Rywire is our in-stock harnesses. So everything that you see on our website is more or less most likely going to be in stock or days out. You know, sometimes I'll carry like those Honda looms. I'll have like maybe 300-400 of them in stock because they sell, you know, like hotcakes, and that's going to be my biggest revenue. Um, Another source of revenue, you know, we don't do any like service on site. I'll do cars here and there, maybe like, you know, high paying customers that want like, you know, a little bit more service, more attention.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'll help guys out, pull their car into a shop for the day, and you know, or I could do measuring and then I could, you know, get the car out of the way right away. But we don't do a lot of no real major like service or like too much hands on the car. Um, Another source of income is, you know, obviously we have our custom line, and even though those wiring harnesses are, you know, exponentially more expensive, they're a lot more money than the ones on the website. But you know, I mean, they take a lot more time to do.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really say that that's a big source of revenue. It's more just to grow the name, get on different cars, and you know, have fun doing it. I love learning, so you know, just every harness that we do that's custom, I learn something. So, you know, it's just with a, you know, better technique or whatever I'm learning. But, you know, those aren't huge as far as profitable. So, you know, but they are revenue.
Hmm.
So everything kind of adds up. We do sell a lot of like ECUs and you know, stuff that complements our wiring products.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And a lot of like aluminum, like CNC pieces that complement our wiring products. So that's another source of revenue, but definitely not the bulk of it. Another thing that I do is with High Performance Academy (HPA) in
New Zealand.
Yeah, they're actually a source of revenue as well. I did a class with them, and it's basically a kind of a 101 kind of a course on basic wiring, how ECUs work, and you know how you wire sensors to them, and you know how to build a wiring loom. I kind of take it step by step. I, you know, explain resistance and continuity and all those things that for my first 2 years didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Now I am, you know, very, very proficient in all that, and you know how much amperage draw certain things, you know, require to run. So yeah, I mean, if you know if you have any interest, definitely take that course on the High Performance Academy.
I have wanted to take that because I didn't know you taught it, but I saw the class and I've been wanting to take it for a while. I just am so busy with trying to do other things, it's hard to find time for it. But
yeah, definitely take it. Like, I mean, for $99, and if you don't like it, you know, you just ask for your money back and they just give it to you. But yeah, we work with them, and that's another source. It's another outlet that you know definitely adds to our success, and also a good outlet for marketing strategy. So you know, everything kind of just adds up, and it's not like we make, you know, toilets and we sell, then they manufacture them and they sell and they're done. You know, it's like we're always kind of hunting for things that we can sell and have complement our root product, which is wiring harnesses.
Okay, so I actually want to talk a little about the harnesses. Can you explain how you price these things? Because the ones you're pre-making, where you're making 100 or 200 or more at a time, or even maybe a dozen of them at a time, when you're manufacturing them, you know, one after another like that, it's easier to do it, you know. So, but how much time do you have into a harness that? Let's say, because I was looking at your site, you got some that are like $600 for what looks like the entire engine harness, which seems ridiculously cheap to me. But I don't know how much time you got into one of those.
Right. So yeah, all those harnesses that are like, let's say under $1,000, those are all made in bulk, at least like 100 at a time. So those are all kind of my hot sellers. Everything, you know, is in stock more or less. Maybe you need like a custom piece added to it. But I mean, they're done in such high volume We have another facility actually in Los Angeles, a little bit more north of us, and they're made in huge batches, and we can afford to sell them at that price because they're made in such heavy volume. It kind of sucks in a way because it's like, you can get a harness for super cheap, but then let's say that you want something a little bit, different, a little bit changed. Well, I could definitely accommodate, but if you want it like to a different ECU plug or something, I kind of can't accommodate that at a reasonable price. Now, it kind of has my customers a little bit like skewed because they're like, oh, well, this harness is $650. I just wanted to add like, like nine sensors to it in a different ECU plug. It's like, oh man, like I can't really do that on that loom. We can do a custom loom, but it's going to be 3-4 times the price. And I feel bad, but at the same time, it's like you're going to get a way better quality loom. You're getting custom concentrically twisted, service loops, all the tape, rake cam, like everything is motorsport grade glued harness. You know what I mean? It's a high end, what you'd find, from Motec or any of the, high end UK harness loom builders. It's of that quality. You're going to get a nice pinout with where every single wire is, and auxiliary stuff where you can add secondary injectors, or you can add whatever pressure, temp sensors, speed sensors that you want at a later date. So I really like do a fully populated deal, makes it really easy for expansion, and it really is a different harness. But you got some of the more entry level guys that are like, oh well, I got an AM Infinity, like, just do the same thing, but for that. And I'm like, it's not that easy. You need to add these extra sensors. If you have a standalone like that, like you can't limit yourself, man. You have to have fuel pressure, oil pressure. There's all these different corrections that the ECU can use those for. You need lambda control. Like you can't do one of those standalones without lambda, So you really have to, you buy a standalone ECU, you kind of got to pay the custom harness price, and we can at that point dial it in for you exactly how you want it and how we would want it to be. And yeah, it's 4 times the price, but you're really getting a completely different product.
So how much time do you have in one of those full custom harnesses? I mean, give us an example.
3 days probably.
Of you working 8-hour day, so about 25 hours or so to do a harness?
Yeah, probably 20-25 hours. I'll build all the schematics. The other Ryan will load it all up, and then we'll do quality control, and then we'll add fuse box relays, PDMs, whatever to it, and I'll build some of that stuff, and we really work on it together. I do mostly all the design, where all the wires go. I lay it all out for him. He's really amazing at loom construction, so I really try to keep him doing most of, maybe at least 3/4 of the loom construction, because he just does such a fantastic job of it.
Okay.
And then I try to keep up to date with trying to do expansion ideas and making things easier, more modular.
Just making easier with CAN bus now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm teaching him how CAN bus works, and what packets of information we can send over CAN bus. So if we have a Motec keypad, or linked up to a PDM with an ECU, you might not have to run a wire to control your fuel pump anymore. You can send that over CAN to turn on, or with a delay, or you can have it, turn on with a key touch. You know what I mean? So there's all these really, really cool things that are kind of outside the box that I need to know, and I need to learn, and I have to be up to date with, and then I can pass on to him and show it depict it in my drawings, and show him, that this is how it's now done, or with this system and whatnot. So
awesome. You kind of explained how much time you have in this. Is there a lot of money in the materials? I mean, you said you have like $100,000 worth of like plastic connectors, I'm sure, like Deutsch connectors and mil-spec connectors and all that sort of stuff. But like in a particular harness, I can't imagine it's a whole lot, because it's not like really big. Are they just expensive harnesses or expensive parts for them?
Yeah, honestly, the materials definitely add up. So just to kind of get an idea, like if a customer wants for the 4 times more expensive, quote unquote, let's kind of use that number, quote, more expensive harness, you know, let's say the firewall bulkhead, just that in itself, depending on what connector you use and, what brand it is, and, if it's the gold terminal connector, that could cost in material $200-300
just for that one connector.
just for the one
And
connector.
the pins
I mean,
inside of it, right?
exactly, and the gold pins inside of it, they're like, they could be. I saw them on eBay before, and they're $1 each, and like you have 120 pins or however many in a connector, and that definitely adds up. So there's guys nowadays we're using a lot more of the Auto Sport, and that's kind of what I'm talking about right now. Is the more expensive stuff is the black Deutsch Auto Sport line. I mean, some of those connectors, I just bought a specialty one the other day that was kind of a weird pin count. And I want to say just one side with the terminals, that's not like boot or mating connector or anything. I think it ended up costing me at my deep, level, like it was like over $150 for one side of the one connector. It's like, holy shit. So, I mean, you get guys that are like, well, I have, this PDM and it has 3 auto sports on it, and I have this ECU and it has, 1 or 2 or however many auto sports on it. And then the little, devices may have little small ones on there, and then the little shrink boots on the back. I mean, I've spent like $30+ on just a single like heat shrinkable shape from Raycam. So yeah, most definitely it adds up. The wire's not expensive; it's going up in price. All the metal and the inside the wire, like, I mean, these are resources that are depleting. So they're asking more and more money for the bare materials. You know what I mean?
So how do you track your time and all the materials in a harness? Do you just know, or do you just measure it and have like a price per foot for a harness or something?
I try to, but that's kind of hard. How I kind of have it set up is like a fully populated harness. If it's like, let's say it's a 100 series Motec, because we do a lot of those, like, M800s. I know how many pins are on that ECU, and I know how many possible, like injectors and coils and everything that I could drive. And I kind of go, okay, 4-cylinder harness is this much, 6-cylinder harness, 8-cylinder harness, 10-cylinder, 12-cylinder, and I just kind of like add like a couple few $100 for each one. I just figure it's more time, more material, and it just kind of goes up from there. So I have this kind of base price of a 4-cylinder engine loom, like with fuse box, is going to be, let's say it's $3,000, and you go in a 6-cylinder, all right, add a few $100, and you just kind of work up from there.
Okay.
Some of these ECUs are, 100+ pins, and then I'll just think about it as, well, that's like 2 ECUs. Obviously, I don't normally go as far, like 3,000 to 6,000 all of a sudden, but it definitely, it adds time and it adds material, so the prices are going to go up based on that.
Okay. Awesome. So thanks for sharing that information. I don't want to get your trade secrets out here, but like understanding how you figure that stuff out, because pricing it out per pin seemed like it'd be a lot of time, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit there in QuickBooks and be like, all right, this is like this many pins and this many, plastic Deutsch, aluminum auto sports. It's more just like it's kind of guesstimated, but at the same time, when you're doing as many harnesses as we do, I already have pretty much made that same harness before, or a variation of it, and I go, okay, well, was I happy with comfortable with what I charged last time? Yes or no, and then I just go accordingly. I don't think that the harness prices are outrageous based on the time spent on each one by any means.
Okay.
So I mean, I try my best to keep my prices as low as possible, but hey man, R&D time is there, and price of materials has gone up, and it's just labor time has gone up, and that's the prices.
Okay. So let's move on to your marketing and advertising. Like, what do you do to promote your business? You said you do social media, and your business partner handles like web page development, and he sets up some of your social media stuff. But you're building SEMA cars. What else are you doing?
So yeah, like Instagram is a huge outlet for us. It's been really, really good. There's been some pretty amazing networking that we've actually done just on Instagram. Facebook, I kind of have more or less stay away from. Now that they're like kind of charging for people to see your stuff, I don't really like cooperate with anything that, it was free before and it worked great, and now I just feel like it's just not the same. So I kind of stray away from that outlet. But I think the most important thing for us has just been word of mouth. we have a lot of clients. There's a lot of like our QuickBooks has rolled over a couple times, so we're at like nearing like 30K plus, clients just since we started using QuickBooks, which wasn't even that long ago. So, those guys they have good things to say, and then they tell their friends. And, there's guys that have never seen our website that just got our phone number from a friend, or there's guys that go, oh, I saw a sticker and the car looked cool. Okay, cool. Well, go on our website or, look us up on Instagram or whatever. And that's been huge. Also collaborations with like, let's say High Performance Academy. That's big. Like they're in New Zealand and they do a lot of, high-end motorsport electronics and, to me to be associated with that, like my name's out there, that makes the business more successful just by reach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
High-end collaborations with guys. There's some like really quote unquote famous, if you will, people that we've worked with. And, you get a lot of reach with that as well. They have good things to say. They like what, that we're working together. They'll share things on social media. I will do the same. And it's just like, it's LA and it's who you know, but at the same time, it's a lot more than that because people that have good experiences are going to share that they had good experiences. So I think word of mouth and collaborations with different people is definitely a big thing because I really don't spend any money on advertising per se.
Mm-hmm.
Any advertising or ads that we do is sometimes just like a trade kind of a deal.
I can see it being very hard to advertise your business, though, because it's such a niche specialty thing that you can't just advertise to everybody reading D-Sport magazine because you're trying to reach like 0.1% of the people that read that magazine.
Right. Like let's say D-Sport, for example.
Mm-hmm.
When we were running an ad for a while because we worked with them on a build, and big collaboration on the SR20. I'm sorry, a KA build in a Nissan S14, and that was a big trade deal with us. Like we did a wiring loom for them. We got exposure in their magazine. They're like, hey, you want some advertising? I said, yeah, might as well. They actually created an ad for me. Like D-Sport's great,
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, it was like, okay, now we got all these influx calls of these guys that are asking for like SRT4 harnesses and they got an old classic truck, with a carburetor and they don't know what they want. And maybe it's a demographic that could be exciting to get into and that can open doors. But at the same time, like I'm kind of overwhelmed with just like imports and like some domestic stuff that it's hard for me to like branch out and do a completely one-off application that maybe I don't even have the resource of connectors for.
Okay.
And that's a huge thing for me because like if I don't have the plugs and like the schematics or whatever, like I kind of have to just tell those people, sorry man, like we don't offer anything for that. And that's hard to do. It's really hard to do, but that's just what happens,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you said you touched on it a little bit that you're using QuickBooks, but what are the primary tools you're using for your trade? I mean, for running the business, and then also, I mean, assuming you have like every single like tools for crimping all the terminals and the pins and stuff.
Right.
I'm sure you've got a million of them, and they're all really, really expensive. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like some of the tools that we use, it's funny. Like we'll buy like really cool stuff sometimes. Like I remember the other like last year we bought an infrared Raycam heat gun, like shrink. It's a Raycam shrink tube heat gun, but it's like all infrared light. So there's not actually like heat blowing at it. It's just an infrared light turning on and it melts the shrink. And I thought it was like super cool. Like, oh, this thing's badass. I got it used, but it was still pricey. And yeah, like we like don't use it. It's like, wow, I bought a really, really expensive, nice heat gun, just a normal one, and then we don't use that. We use like, to be honest, we prefer the Harbor Freight one. Like, what the heck, Yeah, we got to replace it every month, but I'll buy like 10 of them or something, and then just go get the refunds or like whatever. But it just seems sometimes some things just work better, more simple. And I don't know, for whatever reason, like I see a lot of guys that buy really high-end tooling, and I mean we have high-end tooling, we have nice DMC crimpers, and we have all the little turrets and all the stuff that we need, but sometimes the more simple tools just seem to kind of like work better for us. At our other facility, we have like pneumatic crimping machines, but that's a little different, and that's not like we don't do those on the day-to-day looms. We just use hand tooling that works best for us. Um, as far as like software and whatnot, QuickBooks is definitely something I'm on every day if I have to make an invoice and track stuff. Um, we have Gmail, and Drive is awesome. They have, um, all the different like kind of Microsoft style like systems that they have, like Excel and like their variation of Excel.
What do you draw your diagrams in?
Visio normally, but then Excel a lot too. So, Visio, like it's cool, but it just takes too long.
Okay.
And unless the client is kind of paying for that, like we actually work with race teams here and there, and
Yeah,
sometimes
I was going to
they're
say
like,
they would pay for something like that.
yeah, and the normal guy is like, well, why don't I get like a whole drawn out like loom? And I'm like, well, because that takes me like 10 hours to build sometimes, and they're like, oh, well, okay, like I guess this pinout will do, it's like, okay, but you have to understand, even for a $3,000 harness, I can't really spend 10 hours building you a perfect, drawing,
Yeah.
I can do a nice pinout where all the pins are designated, the colors are all laid out. And that still takes a good hour or two, to get all that stuff drawn and all the pinouts done. But, yeah, I mean, Visio we do for, like I said, the high-end guys that more like a motorsport team that needs that, then they'll pay me a little extra, and I'll build them a full like Visio visible diagram of how the harness is laid out. But generally, like 99% of the time, the pinouts from Excel are awesome.
Okay. Okay, so let's take a break here a second. We'll be right back to talk more about yourself. We all know owning a shop is difficult, so we created My Shop Assist to help you manage the various jobs. Whether you run a machine shop, a performance tuning shop, build off-road trucks, or even do powder coating, My Shop Assist can help you. It is completely online and will help you schedule the jobs, log time on each task, track parts orders, and take pictures of the work. You can even export your jobs from My Shop Assist into QuickBooks as invoices. So if you're interested to improve operations at your shop, check out myshopassist.com to start your 30-day free trial. So Ryan, what's something you struggle with in business, and how do you deal with it?
No lie, man. To be honest, the hardest thing for me is customer service. It's hard, like it's hard to please everyone. And to be honest, sometimes I'm a little bit like, I don't really, understand that I got to keep convincing myself like, hey, these guys, they don't know as much as you do. You know what I mean? They're new to it, and that's why they're coming to you for help. So the hardest thing for me is that, I kind of got to step back and I got to realize, okay, let's start from the beginning. And sometimes I'm a little short with my answers and maybe come off like a little rude or something. And that's not my intention at all. It's just the way I am. And it sucks. And I really have to keep, remembering that, the customer's number one. And, we have a lot of happy customers all the time. Every day we have praises of emails. Thank you so much for going out of the way for us. And but sometimes there's just, you can't win and you got to pick your battles. So I just have to remember that, hey, the customer's always right. And I try to do my best. And for me, the hardest thing is just, stepping back and being very well-mannered and professional and try my best to, you kind of have to like weigh out the customer. Mm-hmm. There's guys that want to hear something extremely professional. And then there's other guys that are just like, bro, like, just help me out, bro. And you got to be a bro, you know what I mean? Like, so it's, you can't be like, well, sir, technically blah, blah, blah. You have to be on the same page as them, and they'll respect and they'll like that more. So I got to work on my customer service, and it's great because, I'm not the first person that answers the phone. And that's good and bad, but, to be able to have somebody else that, is a little bit better with the customers as a starting point, then that's great. I don't have to be reminding myself every single minute,
Well, that's a good way to deal with it. Make somebody else do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Make somebody else do it for me. So that's definitely a help. But yeah, I just have to kind of convince myself and constantly remind myself that, the customer's right, and I have to be as good as I can with the customer service and technical side of things.
Okay. Do you have a 1-year plan for your business?
No, but I guess I don't. Like I said, I got some little notes and stuff for things that I want to touch on in the next year or so. But I don't have anything formal, and I guess that's kind of where I'm lacking, and I really wish I did have that. It's just honestly, it's not something that I practice, you know?
Okay. So then I guess with the 5-year plan, it's still sort of the same thing, just kind of fly by your seat of your pants sort of thing, just kind of go with it.
Yep. I mean, so far, like I said, it's been working, and taking things slow, I guess, is the best advice I could give, and growing slowly, not trying to jump in anything major. You know, if I look back at 5 years, I can go, okay, well, I've pretty much accomplished what my sites were.
Okay.
And, you know, I have new sites and different sites now. So, you know, I'm always thinking about the business and thinking about things to improve it. So even though I kind of have a business plan in my head, but nothing written down, no like bullets, no key points that I like put on paper. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's actually a pretty common answer.
Yeah, I bet.
Okay, so we like to take action and do it for a living. Can you suggest an action item that our listeners can take away to improve their situation?
The biggest thing I could say is probably ask for help. You know, like if you find yourself in a situation that, you know, maybe you can't deal with at that minute, you know, sleep on it, figure out, you know, write down whatever your different plans of attack, and don't be scared to ask for help. And, you know, you just got to like fight those hurdles. And, you know, you got to remember that everyone has hurdles. Like look at those like crazy, you know, stories that I shared with you about, you know, people stealing all my boxes, you know, from my doorstep. I mean, that was like a hurdle and a hole that I put myself in, and I, you know, just had to fight my way out of it. Like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to sleep tonight, and I guess I'm going to spend my time at the junkyard tomorrow trying to find factory harnesses for these guys, you know? And like I said, you know, ask for help. Like, hey, you know, my friend that, you know, we've been tight for this many years. Like, hey, come to the junkyard with me. Help me get some of this stuff. Like, help me out of this hole, you know? When you need help, then I'll be there for you. But, you know, like, don't be scared to just ask for assistance. Like everybody has hardships, and you know, if you can convince yourself that you can accept the help, then do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's move on to the quick answer questions, and these are just you know, just give us the first thing that comes to your mind. So tell us a game-changing product you've seen in the last year.
I would probably say analog over CAN bus. We actually sell them. They're these cool little chips. Right now, you could the ones that we sell are like 6 AN inputs. So like, let's say you have a pressure transducer, like you know, oil pressure, fuel pressure,
sort of thing.
Yeah, 0 to 5 sensor, right? There's actually modules out there, little circuit boards that you can wire to, and you could take like, let's say you put one of these little modules. You know, you can get creative with it, put in a little box or something, put like auto sport connectors on it. You know, the sky's the limit, but it's a little chip, and you could place that in the back of your system. Let's say that's in the back of the car somewhere, where you have brake pressure, wheel speed, caliper temperature, fuel pressure. If you have a, you know, the rear mounted gas tank or something like that, and you could run 6 of these sensors or less, or you could stack 2 together and add twice. All into this little circuit board, and then you can have a powered CAN bus, which is, you know, plus minus power ground, and then CAN high, CAN low. 4 wires essentially to the little module. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can run all those 6 sensors over four wires, as long as you have a ECU and a PDM and all the electronics to support it.
Yeah.
I think that's really a game changer. If you look at some of these like crazy like F1 style F1 steering wheels, right?
Yeah.
You have a
4
display.
wires going to it, you're telling me?
Yeah, you got 4 wire, or maybe there's a couple cans on board or something, but you have the bare minimum amount of wires going to this like, you know, carbon fiber wheel essentially that has maybe like 3 or 4, you know, gear pots on it, a couple switches, knobs, doohickeys, you know, whatever, start buttons, and a digital screen with like a shift light, and everything has 4 wires going to it, and it's kind of like, it's like mind blowing, you know?
Yeah. So they're all going A to D, and then the digital is converted over to a CAN signal somehow. Then it's essentially what you're doing,
like
down that little chip that you're talking about.
Yeah, the digital inputs are converted to a packet of information, and that information goes over the CAN bus, and it's instantly, like, I mean, it's so fast that you could control shifts with it. Like you could have a sequential gearbox with paddle shift, and you could have your paddle clickers be inputs over CAN. It's like nothing is going to be hardwired anymore. Like everything is taking, they got Bluetooth stuff now that I could for right now, I'd probably kind of stay away from, but some of the stuff works really well. But I think a better solution is just everything over CAN.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I have not personally gotten a chance to use it yet, but I'm well aware of what it does because I've been wanting to do it on a lot of cars now. So, what software are you using daily?
QuickBooks, Excel, Visio, Instagram. That's all I can really think of right now.
Okay, and that kind of falls into what apps you're using. Is there any other apps on your phone you may use a lot?
Yeah, let's see. Apps. Well, a couple like design little app things that I've been kind of like toying with that aren't really that great, but definitely Instagram. I don't know. I'd have to like go through it, but I mean, nothing too crazy. I got Facebook on there, and I just kind of like throw pictures up and Snapchat stuff like that. So nothing too crazy or out of the norm.
And what's your favorite shop tool?
My favorite shop tool. It's definitely not my infrared heat gun. Let's see. I don't know. Probably just my DMC crimpers because they're badass. They're a cool feeling when you crimp the pin, and they last forever, and they're lightweight, and there's a lot of technology and thought behind them. So that's probably my favorite tool.
Okay. And what are you driving right now?
What am I driving? Well, today I'm driving a S2000. That's kind of my. I had a BMW M3, like an E46, and that one was really fun, but I actually kind of needed to save a little bit of money. I've been working on my house a lot, so I sold that, and I found like a really cheap S2K, so I'm kind of dailying that. But I also daily my Toyota Tundra a lot because I use that for towing primarily for my Integra and my Civic, my kind of like off-road used cars.
Yeah.
So I got a trailer and I tow with my Tundra, but since I've been working on the house a lot, I've been having to get a lot of materials and picking up all that kind of stuff, build materials and stuff. So I've been driving the truck a lot, and then my kind of weekend car, it's an orange GT3 RS. So you probably saw that one at SEMA, parked next to the Integra.
I didn't know that was your car as well.
Yeah, that one was kind of like a dream purchase.
Uh-huh.
Couple years back, I picked that one up, right before the huge Porsche boom where everybody's paying like
crazy money for them.
Crazy money for Porsche. Yeah, I got that kind of just in time. Like, I mean, the price was probably higher than like what I could have paid, but it was definitely reasonable. And it's been a good investment. And I put a lot of miles on that car so far, so that's not really helping with like the resale value. But at the same time, it's really really fun to drive, and like I get a lot of ideas from that car.
Is that the same one my Lego model is made after?
Oh, the new Lego models, I think a 991. Mine's a 997.
Oh, okay.
Mine 997.1 GT3 RS.
Awesome. Okay, so let's close this thing out here. So what do you think the future of automotive performance is going to be?
I would say that electricity is definitely something that's, all the electric vehicles, that everybody's moving towards that. And there's also guys that are starting to do some tuning on those. And I think there's huge potential there. What it exactly is, I'm not quite sure yet, but I see potential, and I see that the more of those cars on the road, the more people are going to start tuning them, and the more that people are going to get deep into it and do some wild stuff. So, also like the efficiency of turbos has really taken some huge steps, in the recent years. Mm-hmm. And that kind of leads into just efficiency in general, I'd say. Because, you got the efficiency of the turbos down, so well, and then the efficiency of the electric vehicles as well. I mean, it's just an efficiency thing. It's like you put coating on your bearings, and they spin longer, and it's less drag, and it creates more freed up power. So it's like, okay, it's all about efficiency, and like you can really see it. Like some of these like sport front wheel drive Honda guys are just in the last few years are just doing ridiculous things, And it's really cool to see. And it's all about efficiency. I mean, they're doing the same concepts essentially as they were, 5-6 years before, but they're finding ways to make it all more efficient.
Yeah,
so,
like F1's big push is efficiency, and
oh yeah,
getting up to the 48-50% thermal. I guess it's thermal efficiency on the fuel, but whatever their the energy efficiency is extremely high on that, higher than they said what you would even get on an electric car using a grid powered electricity, which is pretty impressive. But
yeah, it's wild to see some of this stuff. So, I mean, it's something that I definitely have thought about, and like the whole when you're talking about 5-year plan kind of a thing, things that I think about and things that I'm trying to convince myself to go in the directions of, but.
So we're going to be able to buy a Rywire Tesla harness here pretty soon, right?
Hey, I mean, if there is a necessity for it, then most definitely. If there's an upgrade that somebody that's maybe more involved than me, and they say I could do this, but I need electronics to match. All right, cool, man. Let's do something. So if that presents itself, then yeah, definitely. I mean, 5 to 10 years from now, when that's a necessity, the EPA and all these different government holdups kind of put I don't know, it's difficult because they're trying to delay it by you can't at first it was like hybrid vehicles, you can't touch them, it's like illegal, quote unquote, to modify the system in any way, and those restrictions suck for a guy like me that's trying to make things more efficient, make more power, and have a product to be able to sell people. If you tell somebody that it's not legal to do that, then it's like, oh, well, that's a huge burden into my business, concept.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, like, I know that Tesla has some kind of a program out there where they're actually like, customize things for you. And, that's something too. I mean, if it's backed by the OEM, then the government should be fine with it. So let's try to, maybe if they do more of that, then great, I've had some OEMs kind of approach me and for ideas in different things. Like I remember when the CRZ came out, they like did like a sit group and recorded it and like had like kind of heard what I had to say about it. And there was a lot of things where I said, you have to make it the ECU somehow like open source for the tuner if you want to do, because they're like, how do we increase the tuner market in this car? And like, well, there's things you could easily do that would make it more tunable, but you have to make sure that the government's okay with it. So maybe if there's stuff you could build in somehow to make things easier, that there's some kind of a gray area where these guys aren't getting like popped for doing something that's not quote unquote legal, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Becomes off-road use only or whatever. Like if the OEMs are on board, then we could do way more with it on the aftermarket side of things.
Which is really obvious with certain cars, and the ones that they lock them down the markets are dead for them. So.
Right. I remember how long it took for the FRS community to get any kind of like ECU,
Yeah, or the Genesis ones, the Hyundai Genesis.
Yeah.
Like it's non-existent, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then these guys are calling and they're like, oh, let's just put a Motec on it. And it's like, okay, but like you can or you can't because of there's all these limitations that, people might not realize. But, yeah, man, to keeping costs down and making things for the normal tuner to be able to do, like you got to have that ECU somehow like hackable or ready to go or something, and that's not always feasible. So it's kind of tough.
Okay, well let's close this thing out. So how do we connect with you and your company?
Well, Instagram is easy way to get a hold of me to see pictures and whatnot. I try not to do too much. I try to keep emails as the primary, form of connection, but Instagram is Ryan_Rywire. Should be able to find me pretty easily on that and see some good pictures. Facebook is just at Rywire. And then my website is www.rywire.com. And then the email is orders@Rywire or ryan@rywire.com. Okay. So the best ways, number one, you want to get a hold of me, you have a question about something, you're going to just shoot me an email at the ryan@rywire.com email.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate every minute of it.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website, doitforaliving.net. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from.